So that brings us to our final segment, which is respond directly to your comments and your ripples. We like ripples over here.
Mhm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be coming from the book of TikTok, chapter Trap, verse When a man loves respect more than sex, this happens. All right, so we had someone named KK. She says, so a woman is just supposed to love you and not respect and not accept you, provide and protect, etc. Y'all are entitled. Seems like she's saying that no, we're not saying that a woman is just supposed to love you and not accept that quote unquote the man isn't going to provide and protect. What we are saying is that a man, not a simp, not a trick, not a beta guy, homosexual, a man, he's not looking for the foundation of his relationship to be lust. He's looking for it to be something bigger than that. So
Hmm.
he's looking for a woman who has a character that's in alignment with his so that they can bring this vision of their future into reality.
Hmm.
And so he's not going to just be with any old woman for the sake of just being with her because he feels he just needs to be with a woman. Like
Hmm.
that's what we're saying. And that man does quote unquote hold it down for his family because he is a man.
Hmm.
But he doesn't operate from the again the trick prostitute mindset, which is what your comment is somewhat alluding to, because again he's more of a collaborator as opposed to a codependent. So
Hmm.
he's not looking for a woman to cut his meat.
Hmm.
Codependence. He's not looking for the woman to just be his helpmeet in that regard, so where she's just there to serve him. No, he's looking for a woman who is going to be working with him as a
Hmm.
teammate, so that they can work together to move forward. All right. So, and that woman he will provide and protect for
Hmm.
times 10. So no.
And one thing I just realized that we have to afford each other a level of grace when we're getting into relationships. And I say that because neither the male nor female is coming from a dual parent household.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, the man doesn't see what a husband should do, and he doesn't see what a wife should be. And the woman doesn't see what a wife should be, and she doesn't see what a husband should do because neither husband and wife are both in the same household.
Mm-hmm.
And so, therefore, and I could use myself as an example, growing up with a single parent and not really understanding the duties of a man. I was in a relationship living with a female, and I was on the 50-50 type thing. Like, okay, are you gonna? I need your half of the rent. All right, the half of this and half of that, half of that, half of that, and not even realizing that that wasn't the best way for me to be operating as a man.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't understand or know my role as the man is to be the provider. Where, I thought me paying for everything and all the bills and all that was a bit unfair.
Mm-hmm.
But you will think that if you never seen that,
Mm-hmm.
because just off the face value of it, I'm doing everything. I got to pay for everything. Like, but we all using it. Me and you using it. So why I got to pay for everything? So you start looking at things in literal terms instead of looking at things as, functional terms as it relates to marriages and partnerships. So I think we got to give each party a level of grace and be willing to have those conversations so we can really like articulate our expectations and see what really works best for the
For
relationship.
y'all, because I was going to add a caveat to that, and we also have to be mindful that most people's perception of quote unquote provide and protect is based upon affluent Europeans. And you're not an affluent European. You're a non affluent American.
Hmm.
So your concept of a non affluent man's concept of providing and protecting is not going to be like the affluent man's providing and protecting.
Hmm.
It's not. And secondly, as non-affluent individuals, it's like you can't live like you're affluent. So this whole deal where when it comes to provision, it's just like, yeah, as a man, of course I'm seeking to hold it down, but I can only hold it down within my means.
Yeah, you know what? You said that a few times and it just dawned on me what you're saying. about the whole model is after affluent Europeans.
Hmm.
So this whole paradigm that we're trying to live to or trying to strive to do or be is something that really doesn't resonate with us at our core,
Yes.
because this is a model that came out of the direct handbook of affluent
Europeans.
Europeans. Means though when we say affluent, we mean rich, successful, high status Europeans
Wealthy.
who wealthy who lived a certain lifestyle. They were able to afford nannies. They were able to have maids. They were able to have drivers and all this stuff. And
The
they were
wife didn't have an income, which is why the man had to pay all the bills.
right.
She couldn't, not to say she couldn't protect herself, but he understood his
Yeah,
position.
yeah. It's a whole different dichotomy, and then we're trying to adapt that, here as Americans, and as Americans of African descent, which is levels below the affluent European.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that just dawned on me, like that paradigm is either do we really need to take that in, because it's
Exactly.
now if we were affluent Americans. I mean, I could see, you comparing, on the same level, but we're not affluent and we're not Europeans. So why are we trying to fit into this mold?
Our culture is different. We have more of a. I know one of the Kwanzaa principles was kind of like collective economics in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that that's what. No, I take that back. One of the principles was collective group economics. So that applies. That's our principle in a sense. So when it comes to our relationships, as people, quote unquote, not people of color, but as Americans of African descent, like I said, we're not European and we're not affluent in that regard. So we're gonna have to operate differently in that. We're gonna have to first work together to get up.
Mm-hmm.
So the man and the woman. That's why I'm a firm advocate of 100 100. So
Mm-hmm.
if, for example, if I don't mind quote unquote paying all the bills, but I'm going to pay all the bills within my means,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to have to, me and the woman are going to have to work together to pool our resources so that we can get up to where our money is quote unquote right, to where now she doesn't have to necessarily have to have a job, or
Mm-hmm.
she has the choice to work, or she has the choice to go create income or not create income. It
Facts.
has nothing to do with the man not trying to be a quote unquote man.
Yeah.
It's everything to do with you knowing your position and playing it accordingly.
Yeah.
So we're not European.
It's relative.
It's all relative. All right, next one was Linaria. She says historically, marriage was about property, alliances, and control, not emotion. Human cohabitation was largely forced for survival, labor, and control, not because of any natural biological need.
Almost to like what we was just saying, like the implementation of it was for like, we'll say, survival, labor, control, business, whatever. You know what I mean? It was a whole different structure
Mm-hmm.
that was implemented coming from affluent Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
Property, alliance, and control. Right.
right. So therefore, it need to be handled accordingly
Mm-hmm.
as merger and acquisitions, as you would say.
Mm-hmm.
And every merger and every acquisition is not the same. You have smaller mergers and smaller acquisitions, and you have grand scale ones, and you have ones that ain't as grand.
Mm-hmm.
So it all makes sense. Like it has to be the dynamic that you choose has to be based on the characteristics and the quality of said relationship that y'all discuss and communicate, and what works best for you.
For y'all two,
For
not y'all two trying to appease
emulate,
society
right,
to live up to their standard,
which is
which
a
is
standard that doesn't include you.
right. And so we have a Justin Cabrera. He says, "Where'd you pull this knowledge from? The examples you bring up are niche wealthy person reasons, affluent Europeans.
Hmm.
True. You're talking like you don't have emotions. LOL. Have you ever been in love or jealous? It's just like being in love and jealous still doesn't supersede the point that this concept of our concept of marriage is rooted in affluent European culture.
Yeah.
And if you're not affluent and European, that that is not going to work for you. Now, once you become affluent, it's a different situation.
Hmm.
But you're gonna have to work to make that happen. It's not gonna
Hmm.
just happen overnight. Or you can't live again. Another way of putting it, you can't live you can't have Dom Perignon taste with a Colt 45 budget, which is Americans. We want this affluent, this aspirational lifestyle, but we got a code 45 budget. We got a very low budget. So that's why there's so much financial strife, because we're trying to live this, but we only have this, and so we're filling the gap with credit, which is putting us in a deeper hole, to the point where now we just maxed out on everything, to where again we have no ability to create wealth because we're so far in the hole.
Right.
We miserable. We feeling miserable. Our finances is trash. Male or female, she's stressed out because he can't get her nails done. He's stressed out because he can't get her nails done, but his more bigger concern is how he gonna make rent to this today. So when a woman is coming from that, I'm a traditional woman and a man needs to provide and protect me, it's just like she's delusional. Period. Point blank. It's because she's not affluent. She's not. So for her to desire that without that being her status, that means, to your point, she's trying to be something that she's not, and she's unwilling to put the work in to become it, so she can't be it.
I think that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother segment we should have about how we're striving to fit into a mold that wasn't designed with our best interests in mind.
We can add that to the.
It wasn't designed for our way of life at all. Unless we become affluent, and then you could start trying to do that whole, the man do everything and the woman sit back and take care of the kids, and but we live in a world they like, bitch, we both gotta go to work.
Right. So it's like it's like women want to live an affluent lifestyle on a non-affluent budget. And then they're wondering why they can't make that happen. And then they're going the extra step by saying, the men are weak or they're broke or they're whatever because they can't give them this quote unquote lifestyle that they desire. But it's like, baby, you're not affluent.
And neither am I.
Neither am I. Like, we can become affluent working together.
Yeah.
But if I become affluent on my own, then I'm about to be calling all these shots. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be caring about what you got to say because I did it by myself. Which is how a lot of the affluent white men, affluent European men operate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what you got to say.
Yeah, they didn't.
You just a decoration piece in this house. So Justin comes back and says, also adds, sounds like you're just saying stuff to excuse your behavior / how you might feel about marriage or relationships, but it sounds like nonsense. I don't think you believe what you say. Lanaria comes back and says, love and marriage are modern inventions that clearly don't work. The only reason marriage ever worked, quote unquote, was because it was legally enforced, not because it was functional or fulfilling. And I would agree that marriages today are no longer functioning and fulfilling because, again, we got non-affluent people trying to live affluent lifestyles.
Yeah. That's so profound right there. And you said it multiple times, and it just hit it like we're trying to emulate the wrong system and don't work for us. That's why it's not working.
Unless you become affluent
and you have the means to take care of everything. Because a lot of us, it's hard to take care of everything and then still afford you the bonuses and the bells and whistles.
So the next one, Justin says back to Lanaria, you're free to think this for sure. LOL. It might speak to either how your relationships have gone or how you view relationships, but you have definitely lived a very long and rich life. Then Lanaria comes back and says, nothing I've said is personal experience, it's fact. Look at the history. Marriage was originally about property and power, not love. The romanticized version is recent and clearly not working. Agreed. Yeah. Why is it not working? Because you got non-affluent people trying to live an affluent lifestyle.
Yep.
So next, Justin comes back and says, we're in a rough area right now. LOL. A bunch of people are hoes and people are out here confusing sexual identity with a personality or an actual identity. People are shallow or misled.
Yeah, because when you can't thrive or you can't act or you can't adjust to this model that you're trying to emulate, now you think Everyone thinks the man thinks something wrong with him, the woman thinks something wrong with the man, and the man think the woman is he's just being a hoe and just want to be catered to and spoiled to, and then the woman thinking the man ain't shit, he ain't making enough money, ain't doing as much as he can, then then that's just a can of worms for all types of shit to just start to develop.
Hmm.
Wow,
So again,
that's deep.
you're trying to live an affluent lifestyle,
And you're not
operating
affluent.
through non-affluent principles and habits. It's
Hmm.
not going to work. Next, Justin says, regardless, you can choose not to believe in love and marriage, but sorry, you're wrong. LOL, grow as a person for real. So Justin seems like he's a little lover boy. Like I said, he's more so with the romanticized version of marriage,
Hmm.
where it's about emotion,
And
not
love,
and love, not power, property, and
not
control.
practicality.
Right, practicality at the end of the day. And so that seems to be what the difference is. And so Linaria says that I can agree with. And then she also says, I do not need to quote unquote believe in something that statistically and historically doesn't hold up. Love and marriage aren't about critique just because you're emotionally attached to the fantasy. True.
Hmm.
I would agree. So shouts out. And like I said, this is what we want. This is why we do what
Yeah,
we do.
we appreciate that. Who was those two people?
Justin and Linaria.
Justin and
We want to
Linaria.
inspire productive conversation. And this
Linaria,
is
that sounds like one of those medications they try to sell you after
facts.
2 a.m. on TV. Linaria, side effects are heartburn, constipation, bloating, heart attack.
All right, next comment was from Chosen for Greatness. He says, it really is that time. Okay.
Hmm.
Mr. 60 says, big facts. User 284546 says, he's finding the wrong woman. I love these type of comments because they think I'm talking about myself.
Right, right.
So 9.9 times out of 10, when we're having these types of discussions, we're having it objectively, not subjectively.
Very much so.
Only time it's subjective is when we say personally, or I
I
can
did
use
this.
myself as an
Right.
example, or in my life, or like that's when we switch to being subjective. But
And that's just a point of context. That's not the we don't use that as the point of law.
right,
We
right,
don't we will use our we'll use our life experiences if it supports the
the context
point
of what
that
we're
we're
talking about,
making.
right, right. So no, but to her point, there are men who are finding the wrong woman. You
Hmm.
are 100% correct. And that's why those men are just not taking any woman seriously, and they're just still searching for the woman that is going to be in alignment with them, which is what I was saying.
Hmm.
So next, Key says, "Yep, just be single and celibate, so you don't have to worry about any disrespect or disappointment." And if that's the man's desire, then so be it, because a lot of men have quote unquote gone their own way.
Hmm.
They live in a monk life where they
Hmm.
have no desire to interact with a woman in that regard. So
Hmm.
move accordingly. Ross ATL says, "What woman is going about being disrespectful just because?" A lot.
A lot of the ones. Phew.
I know you be in these digital streets, but again, they probably don't view what we view as disrespectful as disrespectful. They probably view it as her standing up for herself.
Yeah, they
Or
agree because but one thing I've seen a lot, and I brought this to your attention before, the audacity that a lot of these women have when they encounter police officers.
oh, yeah.
It just becomes like I can't believe it, and and some of the police officers they like kind of are like apprehensive and they like kind of like walk on eggshells when they dealing with women. Like they scared to arrest them. Like they do give them all it's they let them say whatever they want, cuss them out. Like don't fucking touch me. You ain't get a fuck a woman. You ain't supposed to be touching on me. Bitch, ain't nobody touching on. I'm about to put you in. You going to jail.
Going to jail. Right? So Jesse 40 says, "Y'all really need to heal because you disrespect and hurt genuine women." Well, yes, there are men who definitely disrespect and hurt genuine, quote unquote, genuine women.
Yeah.
However, women are not a monolith. So
Mm-hmm.
your concept of a genuine woman isn't all women's concept of a genuine woman, nor is it men's concept of a genuine woman. And secondly, there are men out there who have no desire to fulfill a woman's desires in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
He's just there out of lust. So
And
he's just there to have sex.
most of the women, most of the men that are hurting genuine women are your beta men
Hmm.
or your hobosexuals, as you call them.
Hmm.
These are the people that are trying to get something out of a woman, or
for free.
trying to get a place to stay. She got a nice car, she got two cars, or she make more money, so I don't have to work as hard. Those are the people that are hurting because yeah, alpha man, pretty much it is what it is. You know what I mean. So those women are getting hurt because they finding themselves being used by someone. Like a man ain't thinking about using you as a woman and what you got. All we want from you is some sex or whatever the case may be. And then if we talking about long term or companionship, partnership, marriage or something, that's a whole different type of lens that we
Hmm.
look at you through.
So the next one was from B. She says, "Women who don't want you treat you like this." 100% correct. And once men accept that, they won't have to deal with these experiences, as she said.
Hmm.
Because again, if a woman does not feel lust for you, then move on. And I'm talking about from day one, from off the dribble. She's not going to develop lust for you down the line. Now, she can develop a sense of quote unquote, as they now are saying, a different type of attraction to you. She can be. I've heard women say, "I'm financially attracted to this man." I must have fell out my chair when I heard her say that.
Yeah, that's a
So
funny
she
one.
can develop a sense of financial attraction for you, where she is lusting for the things that you're willing to do for
Hmm.
her. But again, she's still not rocking with you like that. She's still not gonna let you touch her. She's still not gonna let you have sex with her because she don't lust for you sexually. She has no
Hmm.
sexual desire to be with you. So the whole time, yes, you funding her lifestyle. She's getting her black blown out by some dude who wouldn't buy her a cheeseburger from McDonald's,
Well, that's all he bought her.
or that's all he bought her. So next, Lamiri says these men are okay with transactional relationships as long as they hold the power, and get what they want. You are 100% correct when it comes to your whole like men with the pimp dynamic. You know what I'm saying? Like, and some of your beta male homosexual types. Like you are 100% correct. But like I said, a man is gonna be honest from day one.
Well, we're good with the transactional relationships if we're in the transactional phase of where we are
In our life, right?
in our lives.
Yeah,
If we're in the phase where we're looking to lock it down and find someone to go along for the journey, it ain't the transactional.
it's no longer
It's not.
transactional,
It's
right?
not. It's not the boob job. It's not the BBL. It's not the makeup or the hair and all that
It's
shit.
real
It's
life business.
yeah.
So next, Jordan
It's
Darby says
character
to
principles.
Lamari, he says, "That's reality. Women don't date men they pay for. Someone has to pay. Someone has to pay." Then Lamari says to Jordan, "Why are you generalizing women? Because I can guarantee if I say all men, you would have a problem with that. Maybe the problem is that you can't afford the type of woman you are chasing." So he didn't say all,
No, he didn't.
Miss Lamari. And second, your whole thing about maybe the problem is you can't afford the type of woman you are chasing after. The reality, ma'am, is plenty of men can afford the type of woman that they are quote unquote chasing after, pursuing, or desire. Plenty of them can. However, the woman doesn't have the character that he's looking for.
Yeah.
That's the problem. She
Hmm.
doesn't. Her values, views, and beliefs aren't in congruence with him.
Yeah.
They're not in alignment with him. So yes, he will still have casual sex with the woman, but as far
Hmm.
as him looking to make it quote unquote official, as they like to say, or the proverbial question of what are we?
Hmm.
We're just two consenting adults having casual sex as far as he's concerned,
Hmm.
with no intention of it elevating beyond that. Because he already knows that you don't have the values, views, and beliefs he wants in a wife.
And like I said earlier, whether he can afford you or not afford you, the key word in that sentence is you. Who are you and what do you entail? You are more than what you put on. You are more than the wig. You are more than the makeup on your face. You are more than the BBL. You're more than the handbag, Gucci bag. You're more than the red bottoms. You still have to come through as a person, a character. You got to have character and principle, existence, substance,
Right. So then,
whether I can afford the amenities or adornments or not.
hmm so then B comes into La Mary to co-sign what she said about you can't afford the type of woman you're chasing after. Then Jordan comes back and says, "Where did I say all? You added that. which is true.
Yeah,
You
that
added
is
that,
true. He didn't say
Lamurray.
all.
And then Lamary says, "Oh," and then like they fabricate a story that they make up. She says, "You're the one that deleted your comment." Then she says, "Reread what you wrote." And then Jordan says, "It's the same one. I had misspelled, and TikTok won't let you." So back to your point earlier about making sure these kids know how to type in full, speak in full sentences. This is why I'm struggling right here. Like the punctuations is off. They spelling. They got their own words.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the next one was Jordan then comes back and says, I did. Where did I say all? I've only commented twice. Maybe you're projecting the all part. And yes, you were,
And I like
Lamary.
how you read that because that's not where. That's where.
Right. Right. Yeah. Where did you say? Right. Where did you? Where did it? Right. It's word, but that's why I said where. That's why I said sometimes you having to look at
You
it
did a
and think
good
about it
job of
first.
deciphering that one.
Right. I'll look at it. So
Because when I read things, I look at it literally, and I'm like, word, like this ain't making sense in my brain. Like what? I go to the next
So
one.
yeah, when y'all see me looking at these things and you see me kind of like dive into
You
it,
deciphered that
yeah,
one.
I'm deciphering. All right, so next one comes from user 24992615152. They say stop dating people that don't actually like you as in lust for you, and stop trying to change people to fit what you want. Valid.
Well, I think that could mean stop dating people that don't like you.
Well, like you,
Who you are, not
well,
necessarily. It don't have to be the less part.
well, remember we're talking about when a man loves respect more than sex. So my interpretation of this
Hmm.
was they're saying that like men stop dating women that don't actually
Oh, I got you. Yeah, they don't see nothing with you
from day
from
one.
day one,
Right, that's what I'm saying. And by see nothing from you,
and you
meaning
know that.
lust. Right.
So how will a man know that? How can you circumvent um being with a woman and she's and deciphering if she's just entertaining me just to get a meal or to get me to take her shopping or something? How do you know she don't like you? Because she
I
could play the
mean,
role.
personally, like in my experience, back in the day, we called it a power move, where you do something. So whether it's grabbing her hand or
Oh,
getting
okay,
close, making some kino, as they would say, physical touch,
okay,
like you say, you just doing little things like that,
okay.
or the in my opinion, the easiest way
Going for
to
a
find
kiss.
out is not even to go and just to give her a hug. So if she give you the butt
Yeah,
out hug,
yeah.
where she not trying to push her private parts against your
There's a
private parts,
song.
then know that you ain't him, bro.
It's in this kiss. If you want to know if a man loves you so, it's in this kiss. That's a female sings that song. I forget
So I
who it
guess
is, but
a more viable way to kind of avoid any sort of problems. Just how does she hug you? Does she give you the
hmm
you know what I'm saying? Like, does she give you the wet noodle handshake? You know what I'm saying? Or is she trying to dap it up, touch you, hug you, embrace you? Like I said, physical touch is a simple way for a man to figure out without asking, in a sense, whether or not the woman does feel lust for him. Because if she feels lust for you, she's going to be trying to, and that's another way. Is she touching you? Is she touching you? So you know how they be talking, they want to hit you like, oh, or they just is she touching you? Like that's another way. Is she walking up on you, grabbing you by the arm like, oh my god, like I
hmm
just love the way you feel, and ooh, did it
hmm
like that's a woman that lusts for you.
hmm
That's how you can kind of tell, a simple way at least. And if you ain't getting none of that kind of action from the woman, keep it moving. Then she says, or they say, go and find that person that fits what you actually want already, and all this can be avoided. Exactly, alignment. So if you choose to operate out of alignment, gentlemen, you're gonna get finessed. Next, ZK says, once you realize this, you'll never get married. I mean, for the most part, a lot of men will basically definitely agree with this. Because again, a lot of men are just at the point where like they grew up observing women who had a respect for the masculine and they collaborated with the masculine, but now they're dealing with women who are trying to separate from the masculine and compete against the masculine, and they're just not signing up for that. So last but not least, we have freedom is not free. They said it looks like a female. It sounds like he doesn't know how to go after what he actually wants and puts up with the attention he gets. That is definitely true for your beta male, your effeminate male, your simps, and your tricks, your homosexuals. You're 100% correct. But a man does know how to go after what he wants, and he does go after what he wants, and he doesn't just put up with attention that he gets. No, he doesn't. If he's not getting what he wants, then he moves on. He
Yeah.
cuts his losses early. He's not about to just be sitting around hoping that as long as I do this for her, then eventually, what I'm saying, I'm gonna be able to, win her favor. It's just like no, because again, a woman will become quote unquote financially attracted to you because you're doing stuff for her, but she's looking at you like you goofy because she
Right.
know that she ain't gonna never give you no action, but you're not willing to accept that she's not gonna give you no action.
And she fuck around and give you a little action, but it still don't mean
It's transactional.
as passionate or is something that she wants. She's just trying to get, she know if you do all this and she ain't fucked you, she'll consider the fact. Well, if I give him a little pussy, I might get a trip to fucking Paris.
Right. Facts. 100%.
Anyway.
So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So feel free to hit us up on the Book of TikTok. We post clips on a daily basis, and go ahead and join the conversations because we would love to ripple with you.
Yeah.